Hey guys, it's Chris, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to flash ROMs for your Commodore Amiga. But first I would like to take just a minute to thank today's sponsor, PCBWay, my favorite PCB manufacturer, where you can get fast, instant quotes on your design, CNC, or even 3D printing. They offer fast, complete PCB assembly starting at only $5. You can submit your own designs or choose from one of the many shared projects. Find the shared product you want, add it to your cart, choose any options you need like assembly or whatever, and they will arrive to your door shortly. I can highly recommend them. So check out their website at PCBWay.com. So thank you PCBWay for all that you do. Now let's get back to the video. I want to teach you guys how to flash ROMs. A lot of us take this for granted. We just do it no problem, willy-nilly, or we just order some. Well, what if you wanted to flash your own? A long time ago, a fella went on the old ebooger, and I bought myself one of these. These Chinesium TL8662 Plus. Universal programmer with some stuff in there. I don't know what it says. It'll work on Windows 2000, Windows XP, 2003, 2008, Windows Win Vista, must be something new, Windows 7, and if you open the thing, Win 10. It came with all these fancy doohicculars and JTAG wires and PLCC DIP 32s. Yep. And it looks like this. It has a 40-pin socket on the sucker where you has a little latch for a ZIF socket. What you do is you insert a ROM. Now, I also went on ebooger at the same time, bought myself a 10-pack of ROMs from China. These are Hitachi HN27C 4000 G10s. I don't know if you can catch a glimpse of that popping in the old eyeball there, but anywho, these came erased. They were already blanked. I invested a little bit of money. This was super expensive. I think it was $13. And then I bought this thing. This is a 27C160 322, 400, or 800 adapter. What this does is this takes the 36 or 40 here. This takes the 40 pin and allows you to flash whatever. So when you insert your ROMs here, you want to all go down to the bottom. Leave the tops open. There's actually a line in here that you can see that separates the 40s from the other four, so you don't have the 48. So always move your ROM down to the bottom, making sure the notch points towards the top of the programmer, and you'll be fine. So as you can see on my desktop right here, I have the XG Pro, and I also have the Amiga OS 3.2 CD. We're going to go into 3.2 here, just to make sure I got my ROMs where I want them. Now you're going to see two different types of files here. We'll go over both sets in a second. For emulators, you're going to have a .rom file. This is what you're going to load in an emulator to tell it what kind of ROM you have. You can clearly see what they are. The bin files are what you're going to use to actually write the EPROM. For the 32-bit models of the 3000, 1200, and 4000, you're going to notice you have a low and a high. And they correspond to the low and the high on the actual motherboard, like the ROMs you have probably in your Amiga right now. You can't go and flash over your original Commodore ROMs. There's no erase on those. They are just a ROM, read-only. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to open up the XG Pro program. Now remember, I have my 27C4000 ROM in there. I'm only going to be using 512K of it, but it's a big old ROM. I could plop 4 megs on that bad boy. First, we're going to choose our chip. Up here in the top left, you're going to see where it says Select IC. And if you click this little downward arrow, you'll get what you've used before. So I know I'm using Hitachi HN27C4096 DIP 40s. But if you weren't, click this button, and you can just type 27C4, and you're going to see every manufacturer that this thing supports. Now I know I'm using Hitachi 27C 400 DIP 40s. I forget, was it this one? I don't know. Yeah, HN27C4096 DIP 40. Mine are big boys. But anyway, these are the ones I'm working with. So I hit Select ROM. Now down here, and you notice in the lower left, you're going to have this thing called Pin Detect and Check ID. Some chips don't report correctly. You can leave Pin Detect if you want. I just uncheck these two. By default, at the bottom center here, you're going to see this VPP voltage, VDD Wright, pulse delay, and verify. Most of the times these are fine. Certain chips require 12.5 volts or 13. So now I'm going to load my ROM. I click the load button, or I can choose file, load ROM. Once again, on my desktop, I'm going to look for that Amiga OS 3.2 CD, and I'm going to go into the ROM folder. Now, you can change this to show only bins, so you don't have to search through a bunch of stuff. So let's say we're going to burn an Amiga 500, 1000, 2600 ROM. Now we only have to kill one of these. I'm going to say open. It'll take a second. What you're going to see is this new window on file load options. Don't worry about any of this crap, just click OK. You'll notice you have a correct ROM because you can kind of see something in here. Amiga ROM and operating system 2021 Hyperion Entertainment 3.2. Now if you open up a 32-bit ROM, it is not as clear. Let me load one just to show you. So 1200 low. It's not going to have all of this stuff, but it will have English. Give it a second just to clear itself. Okay. You can see some stuff, 21 Hyper. I don't know what that is. But that's the ROM. You're like, oh no, something's wrong with it. Nope, it's fine. Once again, we'll load the 500 ROM. Come on. Say okay. All right. So now that we've loaded, here's a log file too. Now that we've loaded the ROM, all I have to do is click program and choose flash. Now, you might want to do something before that, just for your own deal. I'm going to do what's called a blank check. You can do it here in the lower left by clicking blank check, unchecking the skip blank. But for now, I'll leave that. I'm going to manually check for blank. I'm going to say blank check, memory is empty. Now, because I ran the blank check, I need to load my ROM again, because remember, I just read a blank ROM. So we're going to load a ROM. We're going to choose that Amiga 1000, 2600, 500 ROM, and we're going to say OK in just a second. Now we're going to hit program and program. You're going to notice it's programming the flash. It usually takes about 2 minutes. All right, now it's verifying the flash. Bam! Programming succeeded. Now what you can do is simply quit the program and you're done. Eject the ROM. Pow! Put a little label over the little glass window, even though you really don't have to, because it takes an extreme amount of UV light to erase a ROM. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave mine in there, and I'm going to show you what happens if you just leave the check ID and pin detect. I'm just going to hit read. See, pin ID error, check the chip, because I'm using a ZIF40 socket adapter. So I'm going to uncheck, okay, unchecking both. We can say read the chip, reading flash, and it should show up with all the Commodore stuff. There we go. That's how I know I have a really good read. So that's pretty much how you program a ROM. And what we can do is just take this out, lift up on it, plop a label on it if it makes you feel better. Like I said, it takes an extreme amount of light to erase these. How do I know? Because I tried to erase the bad ROMs from AmigaStore.you-know-who. Tried all sorts of methods. I spent like 20-something bucks buying this Walmart UV plant bulb. Then I got a CF mercury vapor UV. Then I bought myself a little purpley ultraviolet Craftsman light. Just plop it right on the old ROM chip. Just let her sit there for an hour. None of that worked. So if you think a little bit of sun... Oh, I left them in the back of my truck for an entire day. The sun just powering down on them. Nothing worked. I'm like, I'm screwed. So I went on the old ebooger, hit up the Chinesium department, and got myself this UV light EPROM eraser. It was $12.99. It has this little drawer. You can just plop your ROM, or many of them, right in here. How does it work? Has it got some magic little elves in there? Nope. Had a big sticker right here, and I wanted to see what was inside. So I popped the top. has this neat looking Ghostbusters trap. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So it has this little timer on it. You just click that around there, and that'll put a timer on here up to 60 minutes. These are 10-minute increments, not one. You need about between 5 and 7 minutes on this bulb. It takes just a couple seconds to start its thing. Let me turn the light off here. And it's going to get brighter and brighter as the mercury vapor heats up. Yep, the old eyeballs are hurting. So you're not supposed to do this because you can get cancer. I can feel that. And you know, that's magic. So you want to go ahead and put this cover on and leave it on. Don't touch the bulb. The oils in your skin can, you know, get in there. Don't lick it if you touch the bulb because that's just weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here and turn it on. Turn the timer. Well, I hit it for 30 minutes there, but I don't want to do that. This thing is glowing, right? And it is literally right on top of the little window that channels that light, fires it right onto that chip, and erases the EEPROM. Now, I've had best luck with, you know, just forget about it for a little bit. I don't need 30 minutes. Usually 10 would do. So I turned it past 1 to start it, and I'll put it in there for about, I'll say 10 minutes. That's on the 1. So let's check back in a couple. It's currently, what time is it? 7:57? Okay, so it's been about, I don't know, almost 10 minutes. It's 8:06 now. It's like 7:50 something. This should go off any minute. You can see the timer. Can you see that? I'm sorry. The timer is just about at 0. It was a little bit past the 1. So it goes off by itself. Now, this might be a little warm. Yeah, it's a little warm. So taking this out now, let's do this together. We put this back in this reader all the way at the bottom with the little nipple thing facing the top. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch the XG Pro software. Yes, I got to go back to the computer, but I'm just going to do it here and zoom in. And I'm going to, again, uncheck the check ID and pin detect, and I can just hit blank check now. Whoops, blank check, blank check. Checking the blankness. And check code member empty. 3375 milliseconds. So that's how you fix mistakes. Total investment. Are you going to be doing this on a regular basis? Are you going to? Do you have so many Amigas that it's not cost efficient to be purchasing $50 burnt ROMs or waiting on the long shipping times from China, America, Europe to America, or anywhere? Maybe you live in Guam, Japan. If you wanted to burn yourself some ROMs, new OS comes out. You need another ROM. Don't worry about it. Take your chip out, stick it in the Ghostbusters trap here, erase the chip. You can keep going and going again. It's not like there's a limit. What did I pay? I don't remember. 13 bucks for the Ghostbusters trap. Light bulbs, don't worry about. This randomly, depending on the amount of accessories and little doohicular things and PLCCs and adapters and JTAGs and wires and the little 27C400 adapter. The adapter was $8. The programmer was 10-ish, let's say. The light EEPROM eraser was 10. I got 10 EEPROMs for $7 from China. So let's say 30 bucks, $35 maybe. I'm all in and I'm good for the rest of my life. Hopefully that's a while. What do I use for labels? I have an actual label maker that I always lose. It's around here somewhere. I'll provide general links in the description below. Now, there is a way you can take the .rom files and like demux them and split them into bins. The program Remus you can get on Aminet will load your .rom file and it'll split it into the low and the high. But I'm not going to get too involved into the ROM to bins and splitting them and making sure they're mathematically correct for burning, when the bin files are just out there everywhere. And when you buy Amiga Forever or Amiga OS from Hyperion, you get all of those bins and ROMs included on the CD. So well worth the purchase. I'm sure there's places where you can also find them. There is for everything, but I try to support the developers, and I'm not, 16 years old and broke anymore, so I can actually afford 30 bucks to pay for some ROMs. You can get the Amiga Forever ones for like $6 on Google Play. So that is how you burn yourself some ROMs for your Commodore Amiga. Now, if you're interested in a flash type ROM where you can use this same programmer, you're going to need yourself one of these little fancy boards. So you take this board here, see this thing? This is a NAND TL866. You just stick this right in here, right up to the top. It only fits in to the right pins. Like, oh, that's awesome. Why does it look so different? Well, remember what I told you? I didn't buy all the right stuff. I bought half from Retro Rewind when I should have bought the ROM also. Make sure your product matching your stuff. When I bought the GG Labs ROMs, I need a GG Labs programmer. Got all these fancy wires on there too. Well, this will plug into your TSOP hat, right? This is a little bit more advanced, but you can reuse that flash-based ROM over and over. You'll pin down the reset, write enable, and A18 wire to the actual chip, and it flashes the same way. It's just not an EEPROM, it's a NAND-based flash, so that's why it needs these custom boards, because there's the pinouts that are different, and they have to go to the manufacturer of the board you buy. So if you buy GG Labs, you have to buy the GG Labs programmer, which comes unassembled, by the way. Or if you buy the stuff from Retro Rewind, she's ready to go. You just fire away. So that is how you make a ROM for your Amiga. I hope this video finds you well, and as always, I hope you learned something.